And I see that friend of the show, Ann Coulter, was on Bill Maher's show talking about what happened here in Kansas City, that tragic event from, last Wednesday, right after the Super Bowl parade ended. And I reached out to Ann. I said if she can get on the show this morning, we'd love to have her. And kind enough to join us for a few minutes. Ann, you walked into the Lions Den there. You had Van Jones, Bill Maher, and you made it out not only alive, you came out the winner. How's it feel?
Actually, I love doing real time or politically incorrect. Bill's very funny. I like Van Jones. He's one of the few liberals who will actually appear with me, so that's good.
Yes. Well, I got to tell you, and that's what I like. I mean, regardless what I think of Bill Maher and some of his takes, he does want to have conversations with people like you, and so does Van Jones, and I respect the both of them for that.
Yes, it's very, very rare in today's media.
So you go into that conversation, and your point for those who maybe missed it, looking back on what happened in this town last Wednesday, was, go ahead.
Well, it's referred to as Coulter's Law. The longer we go without the media telling us who the shooter was, the less likely it is a white male. And wow, that is pretty much always true. In fact, I was pleased that he brought it up at all because it was pretty clear this is one of the more common ways of shootings in America. This happens daily in Chicago, and is there any press for it? Most of the mass shootings are never cleared. We don't know, but oh my gosh, isn't that interesting? It's always a gang shooting. In Chicago, perhaps here Kansas City, but incidentally, the next day Bill said I had superpowers if I knew that these were minorities, and the next day TMZ ran their photos, and guess what? I do have superpowers.
Mm-hmm. You think about the gang element to this, Ann, and we don't have all the details yet on that, but it certainly is trending in that direction. We also know there are juveniles who are expected to be charged as adults, so we should learn more about some of their backgrounds and what, if any, rap sheets they had this week. You mentioned other major American cities. I mean, this is what blows my mind on this stuff. Kansas City had a record year for homicides last year. We talked about it. Nobody else did. But now that it's happening at a location like a Super Bowl parade, it's getting attention, and all some people want to scream about is gun control, even though it's such an easy thing for them to lean into that isn't based in the reality of the moment.
Yes, it's very much not based in reality. I mean, whenever you hear about a shooting at a parade like this or a mass shooting, you're supposed to be thinking of the Buffalo shooter, the Aurora shooter, the white male, the crazy schizophrenic white male going into a movie theater or a shopping center and shooting people up. That is a teeny, tiny, tiny, tiny percentage of all mass shootings, and mass shootings themselves are only 0.3% of all murders in the U.S. So the media presents a very, very distorted view of this. Most of the mass shootings I assume this is true in Kansas City, they don't get solved. It's a drive-by. Yeah. It's a gang shooting. The clearance rate for murder in Chicago, I didn't look this up before talking to you, but I've looked it up before, is about 20%, which means you got an 80% chance of getting away with murder in Chicago. And those are, as I think I said, maybe I was just thinking about it, there is something to the media's argument. They'll always say, or liberals' argument, whatever. The only lives the media cares about is of pretty white girls. And look, there's something to that. You have black people killing black people, and the media do not care. Oh well, it's just it's a fight within the family. We won't bother reporting on that. And the only reason I think we heard about the Kansas City parade shooting, since, let's see, how many people were killed? Only one?
One.
Okay, one person killed, was because the media thought it was another white male. It was just like, I don't know if you remember this, but the San Bernardino shooting with immigrants, terrorist immigrants from, Afghanistan and Pakistan, I think. For the first 48 hours after that shocking, unbelievable There were, I think, about a dozen people killed. Again, I didn't look it up, but it was a really, really terrifying mass shooting at some community center in San Bernardino. And for the first 48 hours, we had, the FBI, the media, they were covering it nonstop and saying it was workplace violence. Putting in your head this idea of an angry white man who didn't get a promotion and shows up at work, and it took them fully 48 hours to tell us it was two Muslim immigrants who hate America, and that's why they were shooting it up. And the moment that came out, the story ended.
I think
so. That's the only way we get these mass shootings covered is if the media think, yay, we got another white male shooting. And then later it turns out, oh, no, it wasn't a white male. Also, there was the shooting in the in the Colorado grocery store. Remember that one? Mm-hmm. I forget what town it was. But anyway, the big report was it was a white male. And we had, lots of liberals and Democratic politicians posting on Twitter, the greatest danger in America is white men. And then, of course, it turns out to be a Muslim, and the story goes away, and I can't even remember which town it was in.
Yeah, I can't either. So Ann Coulter's on KCMO. What I will say, though, Ann, and I think you would totally agree with this, there are so many stupid people, though, on the right who, took this photo of this guy who they insisted was an illegal immigrant involved in this shooting. And it turns out he's a 44-year-old guy who's from a couple of towns over, and he was just arrested for being drunk that day. I mean, how do we...
I don't even know what you're talking about.
Oh, okay. Well, have you seen the photo of the guy in the red jumpsuit that went viral being handcuffed from the parade?
No.
Okay. Well, anyway, I'm bringing that up because some people use that photo to circulate inaccurate rumors on social media that he was an illegal immigrant involved in the shooting. And he wasn't. He was a drunk guy from 2 towns over who happened to get arrested for public intoxication. And I just wish that regardless, people would just say, hey, here are the facts, here's what we know, and Coulter's law typically applies, but don't take
Always.
But don't
you will
take,
never go wrong.
Yeah. But never go wrong. I like that. But then also on the other side, it's let's just follow the facts and understand what the media does, but we don't need to push our own narrative without having the facts behind it. And too many people tried to do that in this case. But I understand if that was something that didn't catch your attention.
I haven't even heard of it, so I don't think they did it very successfully.
Yeah, well, that's a good point.
Look,
that was more of a local
Twitter
thing.
There are no admittance requirements to be on Twitter. I doubt any conservative whose name you've heard of was pushing that. And yes, we need to be careful about that.
Yes, we do. All right. Well, Ann, you did a great job. And by the way, how does that go? Does Bill just invite you on sporadically? How often can people catch you on there? Because it was a great show.
Well, Politically Incorrect, which was his prior show on ABC, and huge. It was bigger than Letterman. At the end of it, I was on the last show. They told me they counted it up, and I had been the most frequent guest. So I love doing it. He likes having me on because he needs an argument, and many, I won't say most, but a lot of conservatives would come out, and as soon as they get the first murmuring of disapproval from the audience, they back down and stop being conservatives, which has never really affected me. So I was perfect for the show. But, I mean, he's told me himself. I just talked about this. I have a Substack, anncoulter.substack.com, and I do a lot of fun interviews. One recently was with John Lott, of course, the gun expert and economist. And we both have had the same experience. You get booked for a TV show. They want to have a debate. And then they call you back and say, yeah, the liberal we wanted to put you on with refuses to go on with you. So it's been kind of a problem, which is why I was just praising Van Jones. He's willing to argue with me, but most liberals are babies, and they won't argue with me. They won't argue with John Lott. So the problem with many TV shows is just finding a liberal brave enough to go on with me. I think I'm a pussycat. I don't know what's so scary about it. But I don't know. I think the TV shows should say, no, screw it then. We're just going to have her.
Yeah. Ann Coulter, find her on Substack if you're in Kansas City and you're not on there yet. Ann, great work. Thank you for being here, and we'll talk to you soon. Have a great week.
Good to talk to you, Pete. Bye-bye.
All right. Ann Coulter on KCMO. Very well done.